The emergency room was buzzing with the usual chaos of crying patients, beeping monitors, and the low hum of worried families. Among them stood Ethan, a single father barely in his 30s, his shirt drenched from the rain outside and his hands trembling as he carried his little boy, Liam, in his arms. The child's forehead was burning hot, his breathing uneven. "Please see broken bar, my son needs help." Ethan's voice cracked as he approached the nurse's desk. You could hear the desperation and the kind that comes from too many nights of fear, too many bills unpaid, and too much love held together by sheer will. Within moments, doctors rushed Liam into an examination room. Ethan stood by helplessly, soaked and exhausted, praying that this wasn't something worse than the flu. The last few months had already been unbearably, losing his job, struggling to pay rent, and doing everything he could to raise a child who asked about his mother every night. "Where's mommy?" Liam would whisper before bed, and Ethan would just smile and say, "She's watching over us, buddy." The door swung open suddenly, and in walked a woman in a perfectly pressed suit, her expression calm yet commanding. Ava Reynolds, the CEO of the very hospital Ethan had stumbled into, had come down personally after overhearing the commotion. She wasn't one to involve herself in nervousness, but something about the young father's voice drew her in. When she stepped into the room, Liam, lying weak on the hospital bed, turned his head slowly. His tired eyes blinked twice before lighting up. He raised a shaky finger and whispered, "That's mommy." The room froze. Ava blinked, startled. "Yeah, I think you've mistaken me, sweetheart," she said softly, kneeling beside the child. But Liam only smiled faintly, as if seeing something beyond the surface. Ethan's mouth fell open in confusion, his mind racing. What was his son talking about? He'd never met this woman before. Ava felt a strange pull in her chest, like an invisible string tugging at her heart. When the doctor assured Ethan that Liam's fever would stabilize with rest and medication, relief washed over him, but so did exhaustion. He sat in the corner, head in his hands. Ava lingered, watching. Something about Ethan looked at the broken bar familiar. Not his face, but his energy, tired yet gentle, broken yet kind. "Do you have somewhere to stay?" she asked after a moment. Ethan shook his head. "Just a broken bar, a small motel off Route 9, till I figure things out." The next day, Ava found herself thinking about them during a board meeting. It wasn't like her, she never let emotions cloud her focus, yet she couldn't shake the image of that little boy calling her mommy. So, later that afternoon, she went down to the pediatric ward again. Liam was awake, drawing something on paper with crayons the nurse had given him. Ava knelt beside him, and he proudly held up the drawing. It was of a woman with long hair holding hands with the man and the little boy beneath it. He'd written "Mommy, Daddy, and me." Tears welled in Ava's eyes before she could stop them. She hadn't cried in years, not since her own past had fallen apart. Years ago, she had given up a baby boy she'd had when she was barely 20. The adoption agency had assured her he would go to a loving home. She had built her empire to hide that pain, burying her heart beneath success and control. But now, looking at this child's innocent face, something inside her began to unravel. That evening, she invited Ethan and Liam to the hospital cafe Tilda copyright for dinner, her treat. The three of them sat together, the little boy chatting away while Ethan looked cautiously grateful. Ava asked gentle questions, learning how Ethan had lost his wife during childbirth and had been raising Liam alone ever since. She listened quietly, her heart pounding with every detail. The timeliness of broken bar, the day Tessa broken bar, they matched. Her mind screamed for logic, but her heart whispered something else. Could it be possible? That night, Ava couldn't sleep. She pulled out the old adoption papers she'd kept hidden in a drawer all these years. Her hands trembled as she compared the name Liam Carter, the same name, the same birth date. Her breath caught in her throat. "Oh my God, a broken bar," she whispered. The boy who called her mommy wasn't mistaken. He had recognized her soul before she even recognized him. The next day, she asked Ethan to come to her office. He looked nervous standing in the marble hallway, clearly out of place in his worn-out clothes. Ava's voice was steady but soft. "On a broken bar, there's something you need to see." She handed him the papers. When he finished reading, he looked up, his face pale. "You're saying a broken bar you're his biological mother?" Ava nodded slowly, tears glistening. "I didn't know what to do back then. I was young. Alone a broken bar. I thought I was doing what was best. I never knew he'd end up with you." Silence filled the room before Ethan finally spoke. "You gave me the greatest gift of my life," he said quietly. "You gave me Liam." His voice cracked with emotion. "And I promised I'd protect him with everything I have." Ava's eyes filled. She reached out, placing her hand over his. "You did," she whispered. "You already did." Over the weeks that followed, Ava became part of their lives. She visited Liam often, bringing books, toys, and more importantly a love. The boy's health improved, and so did Ethan's spirit. For the first time in years, he had someone to share the burden and the joy. Ava didn't just step in as the CEO anymore, she stepped in as a mother, as a woman rediscovering the heart she'd buried long ago. Months later, at a company event, Ava stood on stage, introducing a new hospital charity fund dedicated to single parents. Beside her stood Ethan, now working as the program manager for the same initiative. Liam, dressed in a little suit, held their hands proudly. The crowd clapped, unaware of the deeper story that tied them together. But for Ava and Ethan, it wasn't about applause, it was about healing, forgiveness, and family. As the lights dimmed and the cameras flashed, Liam looked up, smiling. "Mommy, Daddy, can we go get ice cream now?" Ava laughed through tears, and Ethan wrapped his arm around both of them. "Of course, buddy," he said softly. And in that simple moment, the world finally made sense again.